Collective, how are y'all doing today? My name is Francesca. I will be facilitating your 2025 astrological forecast and a little bit of prediction potentially if we have time for it today. Um, I will say I'm going to briefly go over the Mars retrograde that we're going to be going through in January and February. Uh, just very lightly because I already did a full video on that. So if you want to see how your rising sign is going to be impacted specifically, or you could do your sun sign, but more specifically for your rising sign, go ahead and check out that Mars retrograde video in case you were interested and more specifics on that. I do plan on doing a forecast for every single rising sign. That's going to probably be coming out in a couple weeks after I have some time to sit down and divvy it up a little bit. But I'm very excited. We have a lot of cool energy that we're moving into. This 2025 is going to be a very transformative year. It's going to be a year kind of dipping your toes in the water and pulling them out. It's going to be a lot of feelers that we have out because we have a lot of our outer planets that take a very long time to transit moving into other signs. For instance, we have Neptune that has a 14-year cycle that is going to be moving into Aries. We have Saturn finishing up its cycle moving into Aries as well. We have Uranus moving into Gemini from Taurus finally, which is another, I believe, 11-ish year cycle. We'll get into the specifics in that, but this basically just all means that we're coming into a lot of new energies. We have the north nodes and south nodes shifting as well. That's going to be the major transit that I go over to start. But yeah, let's dive in for a wild ride here. There's a lot of spirituality coming this upcoming year. There's a lot of empathy, the potential for empathy for a lot of others. There's leadership coming up as well. A lot of interesting things. So let's go in. We're gonna jump in. I will mention, like I said, the Mars retrograde, which started December 6th, and it is going all the way until February 23rd, and that's going to initially be in the sign of Leo, and then we will have the rest. Oh, I'm sorry, not December 6th. It moves into Cancer from December 6th until February 23rd. I think I have that right. Yes. Anyways, but we have the Mars retrograde that we're still currently going through and shifting into varying energies here. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I think actually, one second. Let me fact check. I actually think I typed that wrong. Because I think that is actually January. Yeah, January 6th, not December 6th. I misspoke on that. So it will move from January 6th all the way to February 23rd into Cancer. Alrighty. So moving on, here we go. So the first big transit that we have, aside from the Mars retrograde that we're still feeling all the way throughout until February, is we do finally have a nodal shift on January 11th of 2025 all the way to July 26th of 2026. We have the north node entering Pisces, which means the south node will then be entering Virgo here. So it's a very significant shift. Basically, whenever the nodes shift, and I guess maybe let me back it up a little bit and explain what the north node and south node is for those of you that don't understand. They're actually not physical objects in the sky. They're actually mathematical equations that are tied to the moon. And the north node and south node are very much tied to your potential. The north node is tied to your potential for future growth, aspirations, and qualities we encounter in order to develop, while the south node, it denotes notes of past experience, inherent talents, and traits that we need to release and transform. Sometimes a lot of people also connect them to karma, like your north node would be like fulfilling like a karmic path or blueprint going towards that, and then the south node would be kind of like past life experience, things that you've already embodied or integrated. That's kind of what the north and south node represent. In Eastern astrology, they a lot of the times they talk of it as like the head of the dragon versus the tail of the dragon. The head of the dragon bites and eats things, which would be your north node, and the tail of the dragon sweeps things away with its tail, like things that no longer serve it. Anyways, so with the north node being in Pisces, it's really calling for us to lean into our compassion, our intuition, our spiritual side, spiritual healing. Dreams can be very prophetic during this time for all of us. Pay attention to your dreams. Great time to keep a dream journal for this next North Node cycle all the way until 2026 if you haven't already. Good time to practice astral projection or get into those realms of spirituality and mysticism if you are interested in those sort of things. It's really embodying your intuition and creativity. It's also the disillusion of boundaries here, because Piscean energy is very etheric. It doesn't really like boundaries so much. It looks at the collective oneness of all instead of the individual whole. So having that higher perspective is very beneficial while we have the North Node in Pisces. And with the South Node being symbolic for Virgo, we have the potential to really balance that logic and that intuition here, because Virgo is also a very spiritual sign, more so in like a medicine, doctor, herbalistic sense, but the Virgo is also very much a perfectionist by nature. It can be overly logical and having a difficulty balancing intuition and logic. So that might be something that a lot of us kind of encounter, or we see the way that we maybe meld logic and intuition together to create like a better understanding of what that means, like to us individually and also collectively. It is a good chance for healing and compassion for the collective and also for yourself inherently, because if you have healing and compassion for the collective, then you can internalize that. It's that idea, once again, that the more that I can give to others, the more that I also receive. This is also a great opportunity to embrace new creativity and imagination. With Piscean energy being very etheric and up in the ethers, you could have really great spiritual downloads or creative downloads, writing books or creating art. Neptune is very closely tied to Venus in that, like artistic endeavors and that sort of thing. And a lot of the times when I do birth chart readings for people with a lot of Piscean placements or Venus placements, a lot of the times make very great actors or actresses. So we do have this potential, really, as far as like a releasing sense of letting go of perfectionism with Virgo in this South Node. It's a call to release the need for control here and to embrace the beauty of imperfection and the flow of life. So once again, kind of seeing that higher perspective that the Piscean perspective gifts us this, right? And that's going to be an undercurrent for everything. So if you can look at the North Node and South Node, this is kind of playing in the background as we have some of these other major transits. And these feelings of intuition and logic are going to be challenged in that, but only so that we can grow and excel to the next level here. And it's important, in order to like align with this transit and receive the most benefit out of it, it's important to do mindful practices such as engaging in meditation, yoga, or other spiritual disciplines. Hello to everyone. Thank you for being here with me also for my 2025 astrology reading. And sometimes mindfulness practices don't necessarily have to be esoteric wisdom and that sort of thing. Sometimes mindfulness practice could be while you're doing the dishes and being intentional about it. Like as you wash the dishes, you set good intentions into, cleaning, or just being with yourself for a moment and silencing your mind and allowing yourself to be present can be a mindful practice as well. It's a difficult task and something that we all must master in our own sense to be able to navigate the chaos that we have in such an active world, such as in 2024. It's also a great idea to apply creative exploration with the North Node and South Node in these perspective signs, as we already talked about, and being of service to others, because Virgo and Pisces in general, they're very humanitarian signs, and they both thrive most when they're in service to other people. That doesn't mean to bypass your own personal needs, but when you have the opportunity to give back, when you have the opportunity to help another person without judgment, that is definitely in alignment with this energy that we're kind of coming upon. And allowing yourself to potentially either release rigid structures that you already have set in place. Like if you're like, okay, it's 6:05 and I have to do this. Now it's 6:15 and I have to do this. Like having flow and wiggle room in that is going to be beneficial to you. Or if you're on the opposite side of that and maybe you have a little too much flow in your life, maybe tapping into that Virgo energy of routine and structure might be helpful to you. But more so it's on the other side of it. All right. So that is going to be the North Node and South Node here. I'm not sure if you guys would like to have any historical references for this. I do have a couple of little things here. A lot of what we had in previous years, like a cool one that I liked actually from March 1969 to September 1970, we actually had the Woodstock Festival in 69 and the counterculture movements, which emphasized peace, love, and communal experiences, which is very Piscean in general, and like the anti-war protests that we had as well during that time, which was one of the last times that we actually had the North Node and South Node in Pisces and Virgo. I just throw that little tidbit in here. But I do kind of see us moving forward. We're going to have like this push for environmental advocacy. You're going to see a little bit more on that. Spiritual and mental health are going to be highlighted with the North Node and South Node in Virgo. Technological integration, which we'll also see, and I'll touch on that a lot more once we go over Uranus transitioning into Gemini, because that's going to be all AI all the time, basically, with that outer planet transitioning, which if you look at the flow of kind of where we are collectively as a society, you can already see that as we're talking about, you know, advancements in drones and personal AI robots and all of these sorts of things that we're likely to see when Uranus finishes its cycle in about 14 years out of Gemini. Yes, and then we talked a little bit about it, but also collectively shifting from perfectionism to acceptance. So we might have this wiggle room of, instead of being like, you have to do this by the books, you need to, follow this blueprint in order to be successful or something like that. There may be this level of compassion for the collective, or that would be like the higher vibration of us shifting into more compassion for the collective and accepting imperfection as perfection instead of you have to go and look and be this certain type of way. And that's kind of in alignment too, as we have Pluto and Aquarius, Aquarius being very much the oddball and black sheep and not caring what other people think and, following the beat of your own drum. There we go. And that's wrapping up the North Node. We got a lot to touch on today, so I'm going to try and go through them as fast as I can while still being all-encompassing to what we got from March 1st to April 12th. And this is just the major transits. We have a lot more going on in the sky. I'm still going to be doing updates throughout, but these are just some of the big planetary shifts that we're seeing and retrogrades throughout the year that we can kind of look forward to, I suppose you could say. But from March 1st till April 12th, we have a Venus retrograde that is going to be starting in Aries at the 10th degree and then goes all the way back into Pisces in the 24th degree. So you'll start to notice these themes too as I go through these planetary shifts that I said, kind of dipping your toes in and pulling them back out. That's because a lot of the retrogrades, a lot of these planets are shifting into Aries and then they retrograde back into Pisces. So it's like we have the beginning of this new energy, but then we kind of like come back into that Piscean energy of these outer planets and, wrap up anything that may be loose ends before we fully go into Saturn and Neptune in Aries later on into 2026. But for now, let us talk of Venus. From March 1st to April 12th of 2025, Venus will be in a retrograde phase, like I said, beginning at the 10th degree of Aries and moving into the 24th degree of Pisces. This period invites us for a deep reflection of themes associated with Venus, such as love, relationships, beauty, and everybody's favorite, finances. And to kind of like understand this retrograde in general, a Venus retrograde only happens roughly every 18 months, and it lasts for anywhere between like 40 to 43 days. And during this time, it, like all retrogrades, right, it almost appears like the planet is kind of spinning backwards from our perspective here on Earth. The significance of this period always with retrogrades is to be a little bit more introspective, and then also reassessing what areas are governed by the planet that is undergoing a retrograde. In this case, it would be Venus. So some of the key themes that we have here, of course, are relationships and love. So it's a sense of reevaluation. It's reevaluating existing relationships, which may undergo scrutiny, and prompting individuals to reassess their dynamics, commitments, and emotional connections that we have here. This could bring in past connections as well. Encounters with past lovers or friends are very common, and this offers an opportunity to resolve lingering issues or gain closure on things, that you may feel is necessary. Although my wife has taught me this, is that closure isn't necessary in order to move on from something of the past. It's more so to feel right within yourself. No one else can give you that sense of closure, only you can internally. So you might also have that internal completion within yourself instead of getting closure externally. Sometimes retrogrades can also bring about new relationships too. Initiating new romance during this period is often a happenstance of a retrograde here.
I'm still on the charger.
Okay. Love you.
Do you want me to sit up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
You never sit up here with me when I do these.
Sorry.
There's my love here as we talk about Venus retrograde. Okay. So there may be new love that come in, or there could also be like a clearing of, like pulling the wool out from over your eyes. Like you have a better understanding. You come to a better understanding of the things that you actually do want from a partnership or a connection, right? So those are some of the fun things with love and relationship. And also, it's not just romantic, right? This could be business partners even. This could be friendships. It could just be relationships all in general. Venus rules over all of those connections with other people. As we move into another poignant feature of Venus, we have finances and material possession too, because you got to think Venus also rules over Taurus, which Taurus also has dominion over the second house, which is literally the house of possessions and finances here. So there's a potential for financial review and to assess what your spending habits are, to budget properly, to set financial goals for yourself is really important, and to get clear on what you actually want. Ensuring that you have an alignment with what your personal goals and values actually are. Sometimes it's like you think your goals and values are actually in alignment, but subconsciously you have either these wounding patterns or these belief systems that you're not aware of, and they're actually running the show. So maybe it's like, oh, the most important thing to me is to spend time with my family, right? But then really, like, you're over here picking up shifts or covering for someone else, right? And it's like, well, you said the most important thing is family, but you keep sacrificing all your time with your family in order to make more money. So it really, your actions are saying that money is more important, or your financial security is more important. So there may be like this time during the Venus retrograde where you can really reflect on these things and be like, okay, where am I not in alignment with what I actually want? What needs to change in order for me to, create the financial goals that I want, or the personal goals that I want around relationships that will be more fulfilling to me, Yes. This is also a potential of a time to definitely avoid major purchases. I wouldn't go out and buy a Ferrari during this time. Wait until you get out of this post retrograde phase before you really spend all of your money on luxuries. Sometimes when we have a Venus retrograde, you can feel extra luxurious and want to treat yourself. Just know, sometimes with these retrogrades, especially a Venus retrograde, it's a time to practice restraint, especially those that it's oscillating within your first house. So just be aware of these things as well. Stick to the Walmart Birkins. Absolutely, baby. That's Walmart Birkins, I'm saying. Real leather.
Real leather. Make sure they're not the...
Yeah.
They have a couple different brands going on.
Couple different colors. Come to our Walmart Birkin downstairs, wholesale.
Wholesale. They got Kelly's now too.
All right. So the other impact that we have here with the Venus retrograde is focusing on your self-worth and personal values. We touched a little bit on the personal values as the hierarchy scale goes. but it is a good period for introspection, for individuals to be encouraged to reflect on your self-esteem and whether your current lifestyle aligns with your core values. So like that hierarchy, like I was talking about, if you're saying that your family is the most important thing, why are you doing everything to avoid spending time with your family, you know? And then of course there may be some justification there. It's like, well, I have to pay the bills and take care of them and da-da-da. But there's other ways around that instead of just sacrificing all of the time that you do have with them. Not to shame those who are very hardworking and, you know, trying to provide for your family. My only point here is to prove that, like, there's other ways to come to the same goal or conclusion. You know, there's other paths that you can, you know, go about other than just like the collective ego of, I need to work myself into the ground in order to provide, you know. That's very Pluto in Capricorn, and we're no longer in that. So it's time to move on to something freaky and fun.
Don't look at me.
So this is also a great opportunity for personal growth here. So embodying some self-care practices and kind of like that North Node and South Node in Pisces and Virgo thing, really taking care of yourself and exploring creative outlets so that you have a good way to blow off some steam here. Also, when I say these degrees, anyone that have planetary alignments between like the 10th to the 0 degree in Aries, those are going to be heightened and impacted. So there may be like an impulsivity and independence between these degrees. And then for Pisces, from the 29th degree to the 24th degree, there is a heightened influence on people with those angles in their chart or degrees in their chart to really move into compassion and spirituality. And those are also going to be the highlight and focus as they're transitioning through those degrees in those respective signs. Communication is going to be very important during this time. Practicing patience, because, you know, you might want to pop off and cuss out people that you love or care about because, you know, things are a little bit off. You know, it can feel a little bit like things are off kilter when there's a Venus retrograde.
It's a really good time to like send messages and threaten breaking up and just
yeah, very good time to cut everyone toxic out of your life. No, but on the real though, actually a Venus retrograde sometimes can reveal where certain connections really haven't showed up for you. And that can be something that is a theme and that maybe you should reflect on personally if that is an alignment for you guys. Because a lot of the times it's like, well, I've been putting so much effort into this person over and over and over, and it's never reciprocated. And that's like your new thing that you've always been saying, baby, right? Is to match their effort, not their energy.
Yep. Yeah. Matching their energy, you'll take on their karma. Matching their effort, you maintain your own sovereignty.
Yes. And I mean, the other thing too, I would kind of avoid major physical changes during a Venus retrograde. You know, you might have some fashion faux pas if you decide to. It's like dye your hair sporadically. Actually,
no surgeries.
Yeah.
No
surgeries, no cosmetic surgeries. Yeah.
It'll be botched.
Take the Botox off for another day. Actually, when Billie Eilish was in her 7th house perfection year, ruled by Libra, ruled by Venus, that's when she came out with Happier Than Ever, and she bleached her hair blonde, and she later admitted that it was literally like an identity crisis that she had. So kind of that energy too. But anyways, that is what we have for the Venus retrograde. Once again, I'm going to be kind of going through all the rising signs and letting you all know how that's going to impact you probably in a couple weeks after I get all that stuff done. We are also switching officially our eclipse cycles that we're going. They were in the Aries Libra axis this last year, and it's actually going to be in the Pisces Virgo axis again. So my Pisces, my Virgos, y'all are highlighted. Pisces were already highlighted before because Neptune and Saturn were in Pisces. So there's, you know, a little bit of that still moving over. But the good thing is Pisces is like, this is a great bit of transformation for you. And for Virgos on the other side of the axis, Neptune and Saturn are going to be leaving your 7th house. So you actually may have some clarity on your relationships. So congratulations, Virgo risings. Anyways, so So as I was talking about these eclipses here, just so y'all know, in case you don't know, for eclipses, when it's a solar eclipse, this is all about new beginnings and ushering things into creation. Lunar eclipses, very similar to full moons. You are eclipsing things out of your life. You're letting go, you're releasing. So that's the axis that we're going here. We did have a Virgo, yes, it was a Virgo full moon on September 17th, or Pisces. I think it was Pisces, actually, of this year, of 2024. But now that was like the culmination, the start of it, and now we're actually getting into the full cycle here. And we're starting that off on March 14th with a total lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo here. So it's an initiation into this new cycle, and we're going to be focusing here on themes of practicality, service, and spiritual integration over the coming years. This is the start of it. The thing with eclipses is they are very chaotic, and just because they might be the initial point of contention here, it doesn't necessarily mean that you might see the physical actions of it. Eclipses usually take roughly about 6 months to unfold before you can start to see kind of like the points. What are you, like the almost like, I'm thinking like acupuncture points, like the points where it actually makes contact here. And
my prediction for that, though, is we're going to see lots of changes in regards to healthcare, different immunizations.
Yes.
We're going to see lots of innovative things, like in regards to healthcare, AI doing surgery, things like that. Like
that's literally
tons of stuff going on like that.
We haven't talked about this at all, also.
No,
but I literally
don't even know what you're talking about.
But I literally, in here, and I'm just going to jump to it now, literally one of the things for one of my global predictions for this, as we have the Virgo eclipse cycle, is health and environment, which is to catalyze reformation in the healthcare system, mental health awareness, or environmental policies here, with climate change and public health remaining pressing issues here. It's an expected movement of that basically, like, regulation is going to be prioritized for long-term sustainability and well-being. Workplace transformation as well, because Virgo also impacts your work. It is the ruler of work and service. So this eclipse may initiate shifts in how we approach labor and productivity, which, I mean, if you look, Carissa and I have been talking about this, but Elon Musk's mom already kind of started this too with her comment. She goes off, she was popping off on X, Twitter, and she was saying that we need to stop collectively refusing to have children because her sons need factory workers. And like, so it's been this whole thing blowing up, and people are like, are you out of your mind? Are you out of your gourd? So like, that makes me think of the Virgo eclipse too. The other thing too that I have here for this Virgo eclipse is educational and organizational reform here. So systems of education, healthcare, and governance could undergo scrutiny, leading to restructuring for greater efficiency and effectiveness. And I mean, that we're already kind of seeing that as well. If you follow anything, but Trump wants to dismantle the Board of Education and that sort of thing. I'm trying to spin it on the most positive sense. Maybe if it does get dismantled, maybe we could have something better in its place. But that could just be an example of education reform as well. But with all those things on a personal level too, there's a focus on growth, healing, and wellness here. Service and contribution is going to be a highlighted focus. Like I said, anything that you can kind of do to give back to the collective. Work at a soup kitchen, like help people nurture their body. That would be a very Virgo thing to do. And also, you could be like, oh, you get your 6 ounces of soup for your little cup, because Virgo's in their analytical minds of perfectionism and stuff. So I don't know, but that's immediately what I saw when I saw someone look at a soup kitchen. I'm just like, here it is. Here's your perfect square of cornbread with your food.
No.
Well, can't take it back.
Have you ever worked at a soup kitchen?
Yeah.
Okay.
A long time ago.
Yeah, it's obvious. We're going to take you to a soup kitchen.
Yeah, to work, not to eat.
Both. You get a meal after you serve everybody else.
No, I don't need it. Haven't you seen this belly? Anyways.
I love your belly.
Thanks, babe.
Okay.
So the other thing that could come up with this series of eclipses is reassessing your routines and what works for you and what doesn't, what is supporting your growth and what is holding you back. And if that feels overwhelming to you, start small, decluttering your workspace, reorganizing your calendar, which I was literally just thinking about today, or committing to a new health practice could be beneficial during this eclipse cycle that we're going into. And when I say focus on healing, it's not just spiritual. Virgo also rules over the physical body, so it's important to kind of have mind, body, and soul all in balance here, or work on all of these things in connectivity so that you have a full, well-rounded personhood and, can show up as your best authentic self here. So that is our first eclipse that we have on March 14th of 2025. Yes. Let me see. And what I have next for you guys is, I gotta jump around a little bit here. We do have one last partial solar eclipse in Aries at the 8th degree on March 29th, 2025. And the interesting thing, usually where solar eclipses start new things, it's like this one is also kind of ending a cycle because it's the last of the Aries Libra eclipses that we have previously had. So just as a little top off to that, this one could bring about your final evolution of like stepping into that leadership or authority figure, being that authority figure that you've been transforming into during that Libra Aries axis as well. But I just want to touch on that one really quick. Another big transit, and I've touched on it just a little bit already, but we do have on March 30th of 2025, Neptune will officially be entering Aries all the way to March of 2039. So that is a long one. Let's dive in to what that means here. It's really setting up a transformative era full of a lot of bold energy, breakthroughs, and opportunities to redefining our own personal identities, because Aries, of course, rules over the first house of self. Both personally and collectively, we are going to have a lot of transformation. To get a sense of what that kind of means and looks like, I do have a couple of instances here throughout history where Neptune was in Aries, and for instance, like the American Civil War basically started right after Neptune moved into Aries. Independence, leadership, authority, or taking their authority back from Britain. There was also unification of Europe between Germany and Italy emerging as United Nations during this time, and technological advances as well. Expansion of the railroads, that sort of thing.
How am I supposed to wash my towels? In the washing machine?
I know, but
With
there's
bleach?
there's no other white in there. I'm not gonna start a freaking load right now.
We do all those
Okay,
towels.
hey. I understand that you're frustrated because I asked you to do something, but we are live.
Yeah, give me a sec. Okay. So with Neptune in Aries, it can really be about redefining your personal identity here, especially as we move from Neptune being in Pisces, which is very etheric energy, concerned about the collective and kind of observing the collective as a whole, and then we move into Aries where it's all about the individual, right? So it's like we learned and gained a lot of higher perspectives on what that looked like while Neptune was in Pisces. And now we take everything we learned and we can integrate it and decide who we really are, who we really want to be, after seeing the bigger picture of things. Actually, too. 1 second here. So with Neptune in Aries, we're actually going to be encountering a retrograde during this year as well. So we have Neptune going through direct, going straight into Aries, right? And then on July 4th of 2025, Neptune starts to spin in a retrograde and retracting its steps back that it started in Aries. And then on the 22nd of October, Neptune is going to be moving back into Pisces, which is going to kind of revisit a lot of those spiritual and emotional lessons for the final time before we basically say goodbye to Neptune and Pisces for the foreseeable future here. So we kind of have like this sense of individuality in the early degrees of Aries with Neptune that we can then integrate to those final lessons in Pisces for anything that kind of has not been cleaned up. You know, anything that feels like a loose end, we have a better perspective without the potential illusions of Neptune coloring the rose-colored glasses in a way that's not realistic. You okay? Okay. So some of the things while Neptune is revisiting Pisces that are going to be important are going to be a lot of the things that we already talked about for 2025, which is going to be compassion and unity, dissolving of illusions as well, pulling, having a clear vision of what the future looks like, of what you look like you've grown since the whole time that Neptune was in Pisces. It was in Pisces all the way to from 2011 until 2025, you know, like how much have you grown? How much have you changed? What has your perspectives been since then? You know, how have you spiritually advanced? You're a different person than you were at the beginning of the transit that you are to the end of it. So then you go into Aries, Neptune and Aries, and like I said, you have this new revitalized sense of self, and you take that energy back to the last bit of your spiritual practices and integrate it, is kind of what that all feels like here. All right. And then you'll still feel the echoes of this retrograde all the way until March of 2026. That's when we start to kind of get back into the re-entering of Aries. So we do have a pretty large span of Neptune being in Pisces before we finally close it out and move forward into being in Aries here. Okay. And shortly after that, on May 24th, we actually have Saturn finally entering Aries as well. So this is going to be the start of a new cycle of people that are going to be going through their Saturn returns. For those of you that don't know what that means, you can always book a Saturn return reading with me, and I can go over what that actually means. A lot of it is restructuring old paradigms, restructuring your sense of discipline, responsibility, and how you show up in this world, especially with Saturn being in Aries. It's about self-leadership, courage, and individuality here, and how you can kind of like go off of the beaten path, not necessarily follow the structure that was placed before you. So it's a new cycle of leadership and taking initiative in your life. And that's going to be from May 24th of 2025 all the way to April 12th of 2028. And some of the themes that we have here, like I said already though, but it's about taking responsibility and leadership both for yourself as an individual, and sometimes that could also mean taking responsibility for other people in your life, or other people that you care about or have responsibility over. You know, maybe some of you are becoming parents during this time, and it's like you're taking leadership and being the initiator of creating a new family, or maybe it's even having a new position of authority at work, and you're, you know, figuring out what that looks like and how leading other people feels, and what works for you and what doesn't. There's also an opportunity to build confidence through hard work, which of course isn't the most fun thing, but when Saturn is involved, a lot of the times it is about discipline, structure, and order. And it's kind of like this, Saturn really initiates a very primal feeling in us, which is like this feeling of frustration. And frustration is actually the most poignant emotion for a human to experience in order to create growth for themselves. That's why we all have such strong feelings about it to begin with. So we potentially have, you know, this ability to feel very frustrated about our circumstances, but because of that, it's like pushing us that much harder to really change things for ourselves, to be self-reliant, and to develop our sense of courage, and really, you know, go off the beaten path. Like I already said, you know, follow your own intuition, your own path. It doesn't have to be the way that everyone else operates or looks or does things.
I had a friend today say they're excited for their Saturn return, and I was like, who would ever in their right mind be excited for Saturn?
Someone with Saturn and Aries.
They don't. You know this person. It's okay, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, I would say I feel like it would be someone with a native Saturn and Aries because
yeah. I think it's anybody without Capricorn in their chart, like predominantly like a bunch of Capricorn energies. Anybody with Aquarius or Capricorns, they're just like, what are you excited for? The belt? The belt?
The switch?
Like, seriously? All right.
All right. So that's super fun and exciting. Yeah. So after we have, we talk about Saturn entering Aries, which Saturn, of course, is going to be going into its retrograde as well later, but we'll touch on that in a bit. On June 9th, 2025 to June 30th of 2026, we have Jupiter entering Cancer, which I'm actually really excited about, which honestly doesn't even make sense because I don't have any Cancer in my chart at all. And technically I'm supposed to be having a really great career year because Jupiter's in my 10th house this year. But bitch, where? I don't know.
So it skipped you.
Yeah, they really did. It said, yeah, not you. Too much Capricorn there.
Yeah, Daddy Saturn's like, try harder.
Yeah,
maybe next time.
Literally. But anyways, I don't know why, but I just feel maybe it's like the intuitive energy. I do enjoy myself Cancers, and I try to say no that I don't like Cancers, but that's a lie.
I think you're excited for me.
I'm excited for Carissa because she has a lot of important Cancer placements in her chart, and she's going through. Can I tell them?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
fine.
And she's going through her Jupiter return. She natively has her Jupiter in Cancer, so I'm very excited for her. She's gonna have a great year, a lot of growth and expansion, and it just makes me happy for my baby. I got a while before mine. Anyways, so with Jupiter entering Cancer, there's a huge potential for expanding through emotional growth and nurturing here. Jupiter is associated with expansion, abundance, wisdom, and with it moving into Cancer. Also, the other thing too is Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, which basically means that it operates very well in Cancer versus what would it not? It would not. Oh, it does not actually. I answered my own damn question. Why is it not fucking working with me? Sorry, I'm cussing all. I'm getting all mad for myself on it. Because when Jupiter is in Gemini, it is in, it's not a good placement. Jupiter actually malfunctions. So it's like, yeah, robot? It's literally like a broken robot. So, but anyways, let's talk about me and my selfishness. Let's talk more about Jupiter in Cancer, which is going to have a lot of association with home, family, emotional well-being, and it's going to be in alignment with Jupiter's optimism and expansive nature here. It's important to really make time for deep personal care and collective growth here with Jupiter in Cancer, and it's going to be like this. I mean, Jupiter is all about expanding and having like this nurturing energy, so really expanding into that feminine energy and that kind of motherhood energy, and not even just motherhood for others, but even like self-nurturance for yourself, and giving like your inner child what is necessary for you, and that love that maybe you've been withholding. It's like very heart chakra energy that I feel as I'm talking about this too, and it just makes me all like bubbly, like in a good way, So there's a huge opportunity for emotional expansion and healing when Jupiter is in Cancer, and it encourages us to explore the depths of our emotions and our inner self, which is really nice because a lot of the times it's so difficult to go deep and to see, our darkest selves and to do those deep dives. So with Jupiter there, it really kind of takes some of that heaviness off of going deep and exploring our emotions, and it gives you like this Cancer and Venus. Yeah, Cancer and Venus 2025. That is also a good thing. Yes, but we're really getting, this lightheartedness of our exploration here. I'm ruled by Mercury, not to brag. But yeah, it really gives this this deeper well of wanting and curiosity of like wanting to explore yourself and wanting to have the answers for things, you know, instead of it being like something's wrong with me. It's kind of just like that curiosity here. My sweet little void is here.
She was scratching on the door.
Yes.
Come here.
It's
Okay, here.
oh my
She
gosh.
wants to be up in the camera.
It's really a time to heal past wounds and also to develop stronger emotional foundations here, which is very exciting because you got to think too, Cancer rules over the 4th house, which is our roots, our deepest foundations here. So there is going to be a focus on home and family. Themes related to home and family and roots will come into focus, and there's a potential to be able to strengthen family ties or create a more comfortable home environment. Or, you know, if there's toxicity that already exists in your home life, it's a time to strip those things away and set those boundaries and be like, this isn't for me and I'm not going to allow you in my energy anymore, you know? There's a collective compassion here. Cancer is very nurturing and has a very nurturing nature, and Jupiter is also very generous in nature, and it kind of like fosters this collective desire to care for others and to be cared for in return, which is very tied to all of this humanitarian energy that we kind of have going on in 2025, which I really like. And I don't care if you don't.
That's my nerd.
Yes. Anyways, so.
Me, where it's like, that's your man. Yep.
Yes.
That's mine.
I claim that one.
Don't get jealous.
Yeah. Very proud there.
I am.
Just another note here too, Cancer also rules over the moon, which governs intuition and subconscious. So with Jupiter's presence here, it kind of enhances intuitive abilities and encourages us to really embrace emotional intelligence. Also, my psychic babies, extra psychic time.
Especially with my perfection year.
Especially with her perfection year. Chris is about to pop off on y'all, and you don't even know it. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
We're ready. Like SpongeBob S. SquarePants. Middle initial S.
For what?
SpongeBob Sponge SquarePants.
Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man.
You decide. Who's the boss? Yes. I'm not going to go over the historical things here because I feel like I've gone on a million years already, so I'm going to skip that. But if you guys do want some historical references for these things, I'd be happy to do it. I just am already long in time. Just let me know in the comments if that's something you'd want to do, and I could do that in like a separate video sometime. Okay. Next to, so after I do have the Saturn retrograde a little bit separate here. So on July 12th of 2025, Saturn will be entering a retrograde in the 1st degree of Aries here, which is going to be once again a significant period of introspection and reassessment, particularly concerning themes of, like I said, personal initiative, leadership, and individual responsibility here. I feel like for this too, during this retrograde, I am going to go a little bit into history for this one because I feel like it is, they have some really good examples here. But just as like an example of like Aries leadership with like pre-established structures and orders, the FBI was actually established on July 26th of 1908, and that was during a Saturn retrograde in Aries. That was from 1908 to 1911 here. And there was also a patent on the firearm silencer of March 30th of 1909, which I think is very interesting because Saturn rules over regulation and Aries rules over aggression, war tools. Traditionally, in a traditional astrology, it's also knives and swords and that sort of thing. So I just thought that was an interesting bit here. But with that, it's like we might kind of reevaluate our regulatory measures that we already have established, like existing laws and regulations. A lot of that, while Saturn is in Aries, and especially during the retrograde, may come up to be reestablished and reordered. So we might see a lot of interesting policies politically kind of come up to the forefront, especially anything involving like war, the military, any like pre-existing structure that may be related to Mars in any sense. We're likely to see some things in that. And we also might have a heightened discussion on individual rights versus collective rights here, like personal autonomy, self-defense. Maybe we'll see more things on women's rights like we had in 2024, but that is some things that we might be able to see too as we have this retrograde. And then on September 1st of 2025, that's when Saturn is actually going to leave Aries and re-enter Pisces. So with that too, once again, we have that perspective of the individual mind, the leadership aspect, and then you go back into that retrograde in Pisces, which then reevaluates what bold actions you may have taken. Maybe you haven't made the best actions as you're in those early degrees of Aries because you're still learning how to move correctly with this energy, both collectively and individually. And it also could be an opportunity for you to like reassess where maybe the individual has suffered versus the collective, or vice versa. So if there are policies that are kind of put to the forefront here, there may be like discussions after Saturn moves into Pisces, like, okay, well, I understand the individual need, but what is going to happen to this whole people group if we are to pass this law or this bill, So it's kind of like that energy here that we may have. We do have on September 7th of 2025, we do have a total lunar eclipse in Pisces at the 15th degree, which is going to be another significant point in the Pisces-Virgo axis here. And the 15th degree is kind of...
Pisces been through it, man.
Baby.
Baby. Just take a moment of silence for all of Pisces.
Can we?
Like, damn, I'm sorry.
Bruh. My whole axis.
It's not even about you. It's about
the
collective.
About me. It's about me and only me because we're moving into Aries.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding. Just kidding. No, I only say that because I have a Pisces moon
Aries
too.
has an I in it, not a we.
Unless it's when they're going wee. Okay, anyways. So the important thing about a 15th degree is it's often considered a very poignant, like turning point, or there's like heightened intensity here. So it kind of like deeply amplifies the Piscean energy here that has like compassionate qualities, imagination, and also the transcendence here too. So, Pisces are just the stars. I don't know why everyone talks about Leos and Sagittarius being the stars, because Pisces, since 2011, man, it's been you. But anyways.
They've been going through it.
Yes, been going through it. Thanks, Kitty. Appreciate you. I'll email you back, too, when I get a second. I saw you sent us an email. The last lunar eclipse in Pisces occurred on September 17th of this year at the 25th degree in Pisces, which initiated the current series of eclipses running on this axis. And there, of course, is going to be an interplay here between practicality, dreams, order, chaos, and reality and illusion here. And this is going to be a little bit of kind of just what we talked about on the Virgo side of things, too. It's important to set healthy boundaries here, channel emotional creativity, seeking healing modalities around this eclipse axis is a very important thing and could be very beneficial to you. Also, too, there could be a lot of spiritual awakening and intuition for those that maybe have still been asleep or who haven't really, embraced spirituality with this. I mean, there's been so much spiritual influence.
There's been a ton of it. Everybody's going to be waking up this year.
Everybody is going to be waking up.
So all my spiritualists, prepare because you will be needed.
Yes. and maybe that's actually, as you say, that's the interesting side, right? Because you have like all this Piscean energy of like people spiritually waking, and then the Aries side of it, where it's just like people maybe leading this new
Taking
spiritual
leadership,
collective to, a new way of healing and a new way of looking at things. Because unfortunately, as you see, as we had Saturn in Pisces and Neptune especially in Pisces, we got a little bit of spiritual delulu since 2011. We had twin flames
And
running
lots
rampant. We
of-
had a lot of
yeah.
cults, like cults
Everything
that were.
turned into a commodity.
Everything
And
was a
all of that's
commodity.
going to be broken down.
Yes.
All of that's
Yes.
going to be broken down.
Yes, absolutely.
No more spiritual commodity. It's all
Yes.
dissipating.
Mm-hmm. And especially with the Pluto and Aquarius thing too, it's just like you can't commodify things like that. It's just not. It's not going to be hip.
You'll have no riz.
Y'all have zero
It'll
riz.
be Skibby, Ohio.
Skibidi Ohio toilet riz.
Skibby, Ohio.
All right, and then I saved the best for last. We do have. Okay, I'll touch on this one too. Actually, just very quickly, we do also have a partial solar eclipse in Virgo at the 28th degree on September 21st of 2025, and that is going to be wrapping up our eclipse cycle for the year. But what I wanted to get into, and this actually transitions on July 7th of 2025, and it is going to be going all the way to 2033. Hello, Carol. Hearts to you too. We have Uranus entering Gemini here. This is all about revolutionary thought, communication, and innovation. This also ties into what we were just saying about taking a very different and drastic approach to healing and spiritual awakening and spiritual consciousness here. This is, technological rebellion and revolution, sudden changes, all of the robot AI stuff we were making jokes about earlier, also all of this too. It's a dynamic era of transforming how we think, connect, and share ideas, And I think we're really going to see a dismantling of the illusion that like social media keeps you connected to others. Like, yes, on the surface level, you can shoot somebody a message and stay connected like that. But I think a lot of people look for human connection through that and still are never really satisfied, like
It's going to start dismantling all of the curated
yes.
perfectionism that the internet has portrayed, and it's going to bring forth the messy, raw, organic connection that it's been missing in the age of Aquarius.
As we have Pluto and Aquarius here,
we're going to learn to utilize these AI, this technology in a way that integrates and amplifies essentially our energies, rather than diminishing ourselves and using it to be, depreciative and stuff like that. And
I do think that we're going to have a lot of challenges with Uranus in Gemini, because there's going to be a huge change on first how we work, because a lot of the things that AI is going to do is replace a lot of work that a lot of average blue collar folks go into a butcher shop or a butcher house and slaughter the animals, or just like the conveyor line stuff. And we've already kind of seen this all the way back from the 90s, how this has kind of changed. But while Uranus is in Gemini, I think we're really going to start seeing it. I know we've already seen it with a lot of like remote and tech jobs for data entry and that sort of thing, where they just strip them, like people aren't doing that work anymore. So we're going to have this influx of new ways to work, and new job creation. And I think it's going to happen really rapidly. It's like that sudden change of Uranus and Gemini here too. There's going to be a breakthrough in AI, quantum computing, and advanced communication tools definitely are going to reshape global connectivity as well. We've already seen a lot of changes with ChatGPT and a lot of other chatbots that, what is the other one? The Google one? I don't know.
There's so many.
There's so many of them.
8 of them right now.
And almost to the detriment too, because we can't even differentiate really between AI and a human that's writing something nowadays too.
And you can program your AI
Yeah.
to
We're-
write for you
Yep.
in your voice.
And we're also seeing things with like resumes, like the ATS on resumes, where it scans for keywords and grades your whole thing. So a lot of people, you know, maybe losing out on jobs because the ATS is, you know, messing up jobs and that sort of thing. So it's a learning curve. It's like the technology is growing so fast with this Uranus and Gemini energy. And you have to think too, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. And is also very closely tied with Mercury here. So they're very, very fast moving. So it's like the technology is going so fast and so fast. It's like we can't even keep up with how quickly everything is growing.
It's
like the
learning how to
second.
be like water. We're learning how to be fluid.
Yes.
With this and adapt to it.
Mhm.
All of this like structure, this fixed
Mhm.
way of thinking, being
It doesn't
and doing
work
isn't going to
anymore.
work anymore.
It's a lot of the Pluto and Capricorn energy that this is kind of tied to is really getting stripped away. Like very quickly. All that stuff with Pluto and Capricorn, it's not going to serve us any longer, and we can't rely on the pre-existing structure from what our parents have done or even what we did 10 years ago, honestly. I feel like collectively we're already very aware of that, but this kind of gives you a verbiage to understand kind of why astrologically this is happening, is because these energies are shifting so quickly, you know?
Earth is slow moving, air is quick, it's
Yes.
swift, it blows through your hair in a gust, and that's how it's going to be.
There's likely to be innovation and expansion on an internet scope too. The potential through satellite-based systems and new technology that can enhance speed and accessibility too is very likely to happen. I mean, Elon Musk already has half of his stuff connected to satellites, and I forget what it was. It's like reading cars and stuff too. Like I forget what it was. There's a bunch of stuff Elon's doing.
China's trying to do flying cars right now.
The flying car, yeah. Well, everybody's been trying to do flying cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, but speaking of that too, there's likely to be a transformation in transportation here too, because Gemini is actually the rulership of short distance travels and may inspire development of more autonomous vehicles, hyperloop systems, or other advanced urban transit technologies as well.
Those like super fast trains, underground
The
trains
bullet,
and stuff.
the bullet trains like in Japan, probably not in America because GMC signed that.
Actually, they're trying to make something from New York to London. Oh, that's an airplane though.
Yeah, well, on the continental U.S., technically GMC already signed a thing where the railroads couldn't create anything back in like the 1910s. So the other thing too with Uranus and Gemini, this is redefining education and learning. Traditional education systems are likely to undergo a revolution, and we're likely also to embrace more virtual classrooms. We might even have AI-driven teaching and gamified learning as well in that. I feel like we're going to have a lot of changes to very rapidly change. And any of you who have kids too, I'm sure you've already kind of seen it so far. Like for our kids, we have like so many apps. Like there's the bus stop app, there's the school lunch app, there's all of these things that are automated already. And I'm like, gosh, we didn't have any of this when I was a kid, you know? And that was even just, 10, 15 years ago I guess it's been longer than that. Dang. 20 years ago, that we were in high school and all of this. But it just kind of shows like how quickly everything has already advanced. So with Uranus and Gemini, there's even more of that. So we're really moving through it super, super quick here. There's also likely to be an innovation in electric and eco-friendly transportation here, just to touch on the transportation thing as well. There's absolutely going to be a huge shift in information and media. With Uranus and Gemini, it's going to challenge outdated media systems and encourage independent journalism and decentralization of information, which would be really great. I know the American government is really pushing against that. They want centralized information because it's easier to control people that way. But it's just with the technology moving so fast, we're eventually going to get to this point where it's just...
There's going to be new social platforms. Everything.
It's going to be really hard for them to stay above board and be able to control everything. Right. And that's part of the reason why Uranus is so much associated with revolution and change, is because things are happening so rapidly that the structures and paradigms that are trying to keep everything in place, it doesn't work anymore. Like you can't keep them together. There's too much change, and it can be very chaotic too. Like even as I'm describing it, I'm kind of like going all over the place and like, oh, all these different things are changing, and that's like just this energy. It's just we are very much going through another cultural renaissance, but it's a technological renaissance, and the way that it goes is going to kind of be up to us, honestly, whether it be for our betterment or for our destruction, unfortunately. But don't want to get too Debbie Downer in that, so we'll move on from that. There also is likely, because there's going to be so much media popping up, there's likely to be discussions around freedom of speech, censorship, and ethical uses of technology will be public discourse here. There was one instance, I can't remember what company used it, but there was a company that used Scarlett Johansson's likelihood after they asked her for permission, like her voice and I don't know if it was her face, but for sure her voice for like an AI chatbot, and it sounds exactly like her, everything. And Scarlett Johansson was suing them for multiple millions of dollars, because it's like, you can't take my likeliness without my consent and create something with it. So there's likely to be a lot of issues
identity
with that.
theft,
Identity theft
fraud,
with that.
All of that is going to be huge. Honestly, a great career path would be to go into
cybersecurity.
Yep, that's going to be huge.
It already is. But
it's going to be even
more.
bigger though, because there's going to be such a need and requirement to have a human eye on that stuff.
Mm-hmm. But I on the plus side of that too, I do think that there's going to be a greater intellectual curiosity for us all, and also a potential for a lot of really great inventions to create a lot of ease for humanity, as long as we implement them correctly. There's, I think, going to be a lot of creative problem solving and philosophical exploration while Uranus is in Gemini. And just as a couple examples here, because I do enjoy this energy, some of the historical parallels here with Uranus and Gemini is during World War II from 1941 to 1949. World War II saw technological advancements in communication, such as like radar, early computing, and transformation. That's actually when jet engines were created. And the post-war period marked the beginning of the Cold War, which was ideological debates reflecting Gemini's duality. So kind of how I was just talking about, like the philosophical exploration, is like that is right in tandem and a parallel to that as well. Yes. Of course, that's also in tandem with the American Revolution, just because these transits are coming full circle again. We already mentioned that with Saturn and Aries. But the same thing here. So we're seeing a lot of parallels with revolution. It's also in alignment with the French Revolution here. The same thing with Pluto and Aquarius. I talked on that a little bit, multiple times with Pluto and Aquarius. But the commonality and theme is there's this sense of revolution and renaissance. Yes. And I think, honestly, that is pretty much it. The way to deal with this energy is to stay curious and open-minded, to engage with emerging technologies instead of being stuck in the past, and to challenge old thought patterns here. It's really important to be adaptable here. Gemini is a mutable sign, so it's being able to go with the flow, exactly what Carissa was saying, in whichever direction as well. I really tried to keep this short, but I really couldn't. It was just so much. Sorry, baby.
Nope, sorry. Thanks for everything you had.
Yeah. This is, like I said, marking a period of rapid change in communication, technology, and social ideas. And this transit really invites us to be innovative and to embrace intellectual freedom and to, we're very much have a potential to go into a technological renaissance here and create something really beautiful from all of this. It's really going to depend collectively how we all channel and manage these energies, and a lot of people and a lot of astrologers are gonna say that it's gonna be World War Z out here, but there is potential for a lot of great things and beautiful things and transformative things, and there's a lot of compassion and empathy and understanding here in tandem with individuality, which I think is also a really beautiful thing that not a lot of people are talking about. So I want you all to know it's not quite as scary as everyone's making it out to be. Yes, there are challenges and there can be struggles, and tribulation here, but ultimately we're definitely going to be in the history books for better or for worse. So yes, I appreciate you all, and yeah, I think that's all I got. I appreciate you guys. Have a happy new year, and I will see you in 2025.